Yay, I clicked the button. Let's see, is my mic unmuted? Yes. Desktop audio is unmuted. All is good. Welcome, everyone. I got started a bit early because I am ready. Yeah, so I got this guy. It's a Mikrotik Hex S that you can see the webpage for on the screen. I just opened the box to make sure everything was there. I haven't actually taken anything out yet, so you'll be the first. Let's see. Got some user guides, bajillion languages. Hello. Laura said hi. Chat. Wow. It's like if IKEA wrote their instructions in text in 24 languages. Holy shit. Okay, well, good thing English is on the front. So I don't know if this is RouterOS 6 or 7 on it. 6 because it's a hex. As you can see, I have Winbox, and I actually do have Mikrotik products. It's not pretty much my first time with RouterOS. So this is my switch, and it runs SwitchOS. So that's not RouterOS. This is my LTE modem, and I made a video about that, and basically the video shows the extent of my knowledge with RouterOS. I made an LTE interface and bridged it, and that was about it. So here's a little guy. He's the Hex S. Oh, get my camera. So this one has PoE in, some gigabit Ethernet PoE out, and an SFP cage. And I picked this one because if I don't like it, it can go into my laundry room as an SFP switch because I have fiber running to my laundry room. So, worst case, this becomes just a bit boring switch, but best case, I might use it for some more. And I'm going to make a video about it probably someday. Power brick that came with it. Looks like it is 24 volts, so that will not be doing 802.3 AF. Don't know if this actually does 802.3 AF output. Okay, it's just passive output, but it can do 802.3 AF input. Unfortunately today, because of how my network is set up, I don't have PoE coming in because I have a switch on my desktop that's not a PoE switch. So let's get power supply plugged in. We have power. I have Ethernet going to my computer. Yellow. I have Ethernet going to the WAN in blue. Not the real WAN because I'm streaming, but the fake WAN. I went through all the trouble of setting up just for testing RouterOSs. Yeah, so a lot of people here are talking about OpenSense and pfSense. I used pfSense for a long time. I think my first pfSense firewall was probably around 2012. It's an old laptop. It had one built-in gigabit NIC, and I added another one through PCMCIA back in those days. Good times. And I just moved on to OpenSense because the devs aren't assholes. And they have an API too, which is nice. I don't use the API a ton, but I do minor scripting from Home Assistant to it to like enable and disable rules at certain times. So it's powered on. Plug it into my desktop. Port 1. Ooh, it's chirping. What the hell is it chirping for? Okay, well, that's fun. Yes, pfSense devs assholes. Yes, how shocking. Now, the OpenSense devs on the forums seem very nice. I haven't had to talk to them at all because it just works, but yeah. Okay, so what I have in the box is the quick start guide that tells me, I think it has 6.4.8 installed by default, which is probably adequate. Should I go for RouterOS 7? What do you guys think? I didn't do it on my LTE modem. I stuck with the latest LTS 6. We should go with 7, shouldn't we? And network. Yeah, I have a lot of network connections, don't I? Which one are you? You're not it. Oh, I bet you're it, because you're not identified. You remember that problem where you just have like 6 Ethernet ports in your computer, and you don't know which is which in software? These 3 are real. So, it says unidentified network. I'm pretty sure that's the one coming from the Mikrotik, because the ASUS is definitely my my main uplink to the big CRS 328 in the basement. Let's see, if I click refresh, is it going to find it? Not yet. Oop, 88.1. Do you get a network? Do you get an IP address? Unidentified network. You did not get an IP address. Connect your PC to Ethernet 2. Oh, I didn't even read the instructions. I'm on Ethernet 1. There we go. Now I'm on Ethernet 2. Now you better work. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah, I think Winbox did find it. If it's just taking a while, I didn't want to wait for it. No, Winbox has not found it yet. It found the RBS XTR. Here we go. Welcome to the RouterOS. Yeah, use a strong password. We're going to skip that for today. So the default config has Ether1 on WAN and 192.168. Okay. Yeah, sure. Guess we'll go with it. Quick set. Inbox still hasn't found it. I'm not sure why. Refresh again in Winbox. It keeps finding this. Webfig. I mean, I could type it in directly, but you could use Webfig too, or Winbox. It's because you guys like Winbox so much. Type it in directly. There we go. Winbox. They look suspiciously similar. I personally am a fan of web GUIs. Am I behind a firewall while installing? Yes, kind of. You'll see when I plug in the WAN connection. So hopefully this doesn't mess up my stream, because I'm going to be connected through 2 different routers. So let's plug that in and see. Just look at like your status. I think the terminal's like interface status. Help. Head command help. Question. Okay. Learning things. Lots of chat. Yeah, so I set up a fake internet service provider off of my OpenSense install, and I have that coming out of a VLAN on the blue cable. So it's going to appear to be like CGNAT. Blink, we could blink it. Wow. Print. Okay. Wasn't exactly what I was hoping for, but it printed them. I get that vibe. Someone who said that Winbox looks like an app coded in Delphi in the 90s. It does look like the 90s. Okay. I actually use a Mac most of the time, which is going to be the most frustrating thing. So URL here. IP. So like in OpenSense, I can go like interface status, and it shows me the IP status. And I don't know exactly where that would be here. Quick set caps, man. Addresses. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so we got an IP address from service provider in the 100.64 range, which is this carrier grade NAT range. So in theory, we should be able to ping like the world. I like ping. How do I like ping? Question mark. Ping. Google.com. Yeah, that works. Okay, so we have outgoing traffic, at least on IPv4. Oh, thank you for IP addresses very much. How about IP6 addresses? Where do those go? Or do those not exist in RouterOS? You know what? We're just going to upgrade all the way to RouterOS 7. Because is that easier to do in Winbox or in WebFig? System. Is there like a system update or something? Auto upgrade. I think that's exactly. Oh, maybe that's it. System packages. Thank you guys in chat. Check for updates. So that's updating me to 6.49. Channel upgrade. Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do upgrade. Let's go. Oop. We lost it. I think if I recall correctly on RouterOS 7. Oh, I need to jump. Okay. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Open the software manual while we're at it, because, oh, I didn't actually want this manual. I wanted the new one. Found that one again. Okay. Oops, nope. Booting back up now. It's on. Let's see. I could do a low resolution desktop. Let's see how that goes. I usually use this for gaming. I don't, Oh, it beeped. Maybe it's back up. Maybe we try hide API or something. Let's try that. Oh shit. Nope. Oh, I'm on the wrong monitor, that's why. And this one. How's that, guys? Is that better? Everything looks huge. Yeah, okay, that looks better. All my icons move back over here. Great. Well, it didn't find it. For some reason, it seems to connect. Winbox seems to take forever to discover things. Is it going to come up with the 188 or the 88? Oh yeah, there we go. Your password has expired. It's forcing me to change my password. How nice of it. I like it when things force you to change their password. Add old password. Weren't you admin? Oh, you had no password. Oh, okay. Okay, so now we are on 7.5. Move you over here. Okay. I'm going to check for updates again. Go to 7.6. 7.5 is the latest I should be running. IP6, there you go. You have nothing. Great. Is that because the default config doesn't have anything in IP6? If we do like why are you failing? I think the default config doesn't have any IP6 settings. Oh, okay, yeah, because it imported my config from RouterOS 6, I bet. Factory default. System. System one. Okay. You guys are telling me where it is. Reset to factory again. Okay. System. Reset configuration. Yes. I have to reset nothing. I didn't mean to click that. Yes, there we go. Reset configuration reboot. So then we should have IPv6, which is near and dear to my heart. It beeped. That was quick. You're not going to have a password, are you? Because you get reset. Maybe at 188 this time. Yeah, that was much faster to reboot. I seem to remember the first time config was different for RouterOS 7. It had a different IP range. Maybe not. Okay, maybe that was just the LTE devices. Nope, nope, nope. We're not connecting to 0.9. There we go. Okay, so it did the default config, and it's making me change my password. Wow, RouterOS 7 has many improvements. Old password was none. Change it to admin because we're lazy. Okay, so you got a DHCP and you got a link local. Interesting choice. It should be a client on either one. /60 pool name. Help. We have the help open for a reason. I'm at mine. I think that should work. What's it mad about? Okay. You got one. 2001 DB85A5A, and yeah. And you got a prefix too, how nice. If I go back here, yep, you have a address. I do like that Winbox, like, I can leave things open like this. I'm making a bajillion tabs. I did click the router port firmware upgrade, I think. Okay. Yeah, it says 7.5. Okay, so now we have a DHCP v6. That's something. Pool named mine. I don't know why we had to name our pool, but we did. We named it mine. Bridge needs a... You're gonna get from mine, and you're gonna be 1. I think. How does that work? Oh god, Microsoft. Ethernet 2 or Ethernet 3? Which one's a Mikrotik? Yes, this one's a Mikrotik. Wow, so I just like magically got an address? No, that can't be right. It's supposed to be in the... I think you're supposed to be 01:::. I think that's why, because you're coming from the pool. So I want you to use the, because we have a 60 prefix. So I want you to use, yeah, okay, 01::. Still not doing it, but my clients appear to be working. So that's good, I guess. Now we figured out IPv6. There is a default firewall. Let's see what it says. Apparently some people have a hard time with Mikrotik's firewall rules. I watched a video on them, and it seems to make sense to me, the Linux way. You have input, forward, output instead of just rules. Like in OpenSense, you would just have rule, and you would say destination is like not this firewall. Yeah, no, it's copy by tables. I'm assuming they're using NF tables now. They should be. I don't know what kernel they're using. At some point, IP tables was rewritten internally in the kernel. It's like wildly powerful. Okay, so we don't have fast track on IPv6, which probably means that this little guy might be a bit slow. Okay, so we can do 2 gigabit. Oh no. Simple queues, filter rules. Okay, so that's not bad. So that could do full gigabit with 25 simple queues and not quite with 25 IP rules. But this little thing was really cheap. Like, picture of it. It's like, I think I spent like 75 bucks on it or something, including shipping. I spent like 300 bucks on my OpenSense box. It can do more throughput than this, but I don't need more throughput. I have 400 megabit internet, so he's sick. Okay. I like how I got to name my pool. Pool mine. I don't know why I can't get it to take a... Because the pool should have a /60. Yeah, so you have a 60. And I want to take one out of that 60. And it's just taking 0. Maybe it just does it by default. I don't know. Let's make a new interface on the bridge. Can we make a new Vlan 69? You're going to be on the bridge. Okay. You've got a new interface. So now that you have a new interface, can I assign you a new address from the pool on Vlan 69? Pool mine exhausted, no more addresses left. So why am I not able to break up my pool? Something I have not yet figured out. Oh, so, hello Pedro. This is a Hex S that I paid something like $75 for. And it's a little guy with some Ethernet ports and an SFP cage. So, I have an appliance. One of the cheapest appliance that exists. Yeah, so you're mentioning it's been, uptime is great. I have a CRS 328, and I love the CRS 328. I use SwitchOS on it, but it has an uptime, Winbox was just telling me it has an uptime of like 364 days. That's probably because of power problems, because I only have battery backup for like half an hour or something. So how does one subdivide the IPv6 pool? So I got a prefix of 60. I want to use 64. Can I give you a 64 also? Cap AC3, is that the new one that just kind of came out? Let's see, it's got HAP AC3. Oh, that's the AX3. Sorry. I was looking at that one the other day. Yeah, I thought about trying Mikrotik for NetworkBurg. I've actually never seen NetworkBurg before. I've never heard of him. Now you're going to make me go onto YouTube on a tangent. YouTube. NetworkBurg. Oh, I'll leave him open and watch him later. Yeah. I don't want to call myself a network expert. I've done this a lot, but I've never done this like professionally. So. I could do : : 2 maybe? I need to be : : 2. Nope. Still not doing it. Nope, no pool. Yeah, $100 is really good for a router. Because I spent like 75 on this and it isn't wireless. But, okay, so far I've learned that RouterOS 7 is better. It's faster. And I'm trying to figure out how to allocate a DHCP prefix delegated pool to more than one subnet. IPv6 is not easy. IPv6 is not really easy for anyone. I've been spending a lot of time trying to understand it because I think it's really important for future networking, but that doesn't mean it's easy for anyone. When we go back to the to you. IP pools, IPv6 pool. Oh, do I have to change my pool setting to give out 64-bit prefixes? So pool has a 64-bit range. I would like to break that up into a 60-bit range. Which means I should be able to create 16 subnets of 64-bit range. Prefix length. So because you're dynamic, maybe it's under DHCP client. Pool prefix length 64. Okay. So I got a 60 prefix, but the pool prefix length is 64. That was my problem. I thought I should be asking for a 60-bit prefix, but that's not what pool prefix length means. So now I go here. And now you figured yourselves out. Now the VLAN, so can I make you 1? The bridge to be 1. You're 3. Okay, so I can't really like force you to take a specific address off the prefix. Not that it should matter. I mean, being 6912 or 6913 should be perfectly fine. So that's cool. Oh, I do not think IPv6 is excessive for a LAN. I've put great effort into making my entire LAN IPv6 capable. I haven't done my Proxmox servers yet. They're still running IPv4 only. And the cluster as well, the little cluster. But a lot of my stuff is using... At the bare minimum, I want to get IPv6 to the internet, even if I'm not using IPv6 internally. So my clients can access IPv6 internet. So we've learned that. So I think that takes me to about how familiar I was with OpenSense, interfaces, and that kind of stuff. So currently we're just forwarding the servers we got from our upstream. 2001 DB8 Beef Cafe, which is reasonable. It's like I'm trying to think of like what have I done in OpenSense that would be important. How about just like looking at clients, DHCP clients? Leases. You are White Knight 2. That is correct, you are. Why the hell did it give out 254 first? I mean, it doesn't matter, it's part of the pool, but it like... Normally it starts at the beginning and goes up from there. Maybe it's random or something, or based on the hash of the MAC or something weird like that. And then what about neighbors? IP routes already done. They were done by default. So I reset the config in RouterOS 7, and it had IP routes. It's set up as a basic one WAN router. So if I go to routes, they should be there. Yeah, so this gateway was given to us by DHCP on either one, and that's the address on either one. So I didn't set up IP routes. IP6 routes, how about those? Those appear to have figured themselves out as well. Mikrotik DHCP loves to assign addresses starting from last to first. Technically, it doesn't matter. It just seems a bit odd. I don't know. I have a massive DHCP range in OpenSense, and it would be awkward to be starting at the far top end of my network and working my way down. I wonder if they do that because, like, if you have a wild DHCP range and you start from the top and work down, like, you would start from the bottom and work up for your static assignments. And then they kind of meet in the middle where your static assignments come up from the bottom and your dynamic ones come down from the top. At least in programming, we did a lot with memory allocation. So I don't need DHCP6 on the LAN because the LAN should get its address via Slack. And I think it did. Here, network 2. I got a bunch of addresses because I kept changing the prefix in RouterOS. But this would be my most recent one. So I must have Slack enabled. So where do I set up router advertisements? Oh, I set you up here. Advertise. That's how I set up your, Oh, that's easy. In OpenSense, I gotta go all the way over to the router advertisement daemon and tell it to advertise, or it advertises by default if you don't change anything. No DAD, what is that? Well, this is fun. DNS. How about managed? What property are you? IPv6ND. Let's try that. Isn't question mark supposed to be a, Oh, no. Question mark supposed to tell me everything? Question mark failed me. Okay. So. Tab. Oh. It was question mark back in RouterOS 6. Okay, let's go back to neighbor detection. Yeah, thank you for the tab comment. I was like, what the hell? Why did question mark fail me? Properties. Prefix. Six. And it seems like the advertise flag is telling us that we should be advertising Slack. A little bit odd. Oh well, it works. I think I've understood some things. So what do we want to configure next? I mean, we could configure wireless. We have no wireless. I think it's kind of funny how all the tabs show up, even if you have none of the hardware to support it. We have no Wi-Fi interfaces on this hardware. Definitely no 60 gig. But it's all here. PLS. So I learned something. A firewall rule. How do we? What is kid control? That sounds interesting. Kids. We're gonna name them Kid 1. I'm guessing this is some sort of rate limiting thing. This is hilarious. Ooh, can I tag you as yes. You're part of Kid 1 now. That's funny. Rate limit. Ooh, mag. You probably don't want to go that low because I have no idea if the stream is going to try to go over the connection. 10 meg. So this is like bandwidth control per device. That's kind of cool. We're gonna unkid you. I'm just gonna remove that. That's funny. It is being safe for later viewing. I'm probably gonna unlist the live stream and just put it in a playlist. But yeah, I'm saving it. So someday, I mean, I'm hoping to make a video on RouterOS because I want to compare RouterOS to Vios and what's it called? OpenSense, the one I used. I started to make a video on OpenSense. I'm like, this is just me ranting about IPv6 all day. Deep breath. So I thought I'd try the ones I've never used before first. Okay, what's some firewall rules? What do we want to firewall? And we don't want to firewall you. Dangerous thing about firewalling is I have my desktop hooked up through the router, so it's also hooked up to another router. But if I mess this up, I could lose the stream. I'm just kind of getting familiar with the what things look like, because like I know what they look like in OpenSense, and what I've just made. Angle where we add marks. That's gonna lock me out. Don't want to lock my. Oh no, it won't lock me out because it's on the forward path, not the input path. See how that works. Can't remove nothing. Can I unfast path you? Oh, fast track is only done for established connections. So another great question is how do I make my desktop ping here to test this? Time for VirtualBox? Yeah. Give you plenty of RAM, no hard disk. I'm gonna mess with my connections from my main machine. Yeah, network bridge with you. This is interesting if I can figure out how to do it. So reading the documentation. Get out of there. Reading Mikrotik's documentation, I was very intrigued by the mangle function, and it seems like what this lets me do is make rules to tag connections. So mark. Well, I mean, you can change connections too, but the thing that seemed interesting to me was to mark connection. And then I could have a rule based on the mark. Can I have a nat based on the mark too? I can, yeah. Connection mark. Who got 253? Don't know what all the symbols mean, but I'm sure I'll learn that someday. Yeah, so I guess it would be nice to be able to do firewalls based on... One thing that's nice about OpenSense, though, is I can put my IPv4 and IPv6 firewall rules in one place. And then I don't have to make separate rules for IPv4 and IPv6. Although I guess here I could just copy them in the terminal. Can I like move you to oh shit. I'm gonna mute that. Just launching a virtual machine here so I don't have to mess with the connections on my desktop to test service ports. Okay, you are in fact 253. Control plus and control minus. Oh my gosh! I actually already set the... That's cool. I did not know that. I set the Windows display scaling to 150% on this monitor. Because it's, you know, it's an ultra-wide monitor, so shut up. Okay, so you have 253 from the Mikrotik box. You shouldn't be able to ping. That's correct. So now if I turn you off, you'll be able to ping. Maybe. We were established. Oh, you're doing it on IPv6. Yeah, okay. So we where does it show like blocked things? Because I see connections here. These are ones that made it through. I see that it works in IPv4, because I didn't set the equivalent in IPv6. So what I'm playing with here is using Mangle to tag a connection with a connection mark, and then using that connection mark in a filter rule. So in this case, I'm saying if the connection's marked IoT, then drop it. And then in Mangle, I'm saying if the connection came from this IP address in the pre-routing chain, then mark it. And that seems to be working fine. So I guess I could use marks to set up a variety of groupings of devices. I'm kind of thinking to like my ideal network setup, and with the one downside to OpenSense is that there's not like a good way to do like software managed configuration. So like with RouterOS, I could theoretically export the config and then like diff it and then manually edit it and then write the diffs back like in an automated way. So like I could say every time I change the config, do an export, save that in Git or something else. And then if I want to go back to a previous version, I could diff the config, see what the changes were, and then apply those diffs with SSH or terminal or manually. But the thing that appeals to me about RouterOS and Vios is that I can do this in a sort of automated way. So like if I wanted to like dynamically change which groups are being, like which groups of computers are being routed over some path or being blocked from the internet or whatever, I could enable or disable Mangle rules or create or remove Mangle rules, and the filter rules would stay in place. Or I could create and remove filter rules, I guess, over SSH in an automated fashion, which seems handy. Because that's the one thing that OpenSense doesn't do, is it doesn't do any time-based. As far as I know, it doesn't do anything time-based. So I can't say, like, block this computer on the weekdays. Not that I would normally want to, but having that kind of automation at Home Assistant would be nice for me. I could say, like, route something over the LTE interface or the Comcast interface or whatever. So now I want to figure out how to do policy routing, which is something I've done a tiny amount of in pfSense, OpenSense. So that has been learned. I'm assuming that IPv6 firewall is the same. You can use address lists. Yes, there are address lists in OpenSense too. Address list. Firewall. Where are address lists? I know they exist. They're not there. So these are interface addresses. One thing I tried to do as like a proof of concept in OpenSense was to say, like, if I have a hypothetical, like, under firewall, it says, oh, this address list. Yes. I spelled it wrong. Can I do more than one with the same name? Or do I have to go and add more? So that's just substituting. You can use arbitrary chains instead of marks and jump them on the filter rule. General. Oh, I see what you mean, by creating your own chain here. When you discover a new feature, how do you store notes about it? When I discover something new, how do I store notes about it? Usually by writing a blog post and making a video and publishing it. Sometimes I write a blog post and don't publish it, and it just sits in my like drafts forever, but that's how I store things. Yeah, so this is interesting. So I could, so a while ago in OpenSense, I created a proof of concept. And the theory was if I were to have a VPN service to do region, like multi-region, and I were to create like a VPN tunnel at OpenSense, then how would I selectively choose through Home Assistant, like an Apple TV or a smart TV, to route over the VPN connection dynamically? And to do that, I basically enabled and disabled alias rules through the, and then had a firewall rule that would policy route it. Using Notion. I have never tried Notion. I am really big on self-hosting things. My website is stored in Git and written in Markdown. Routing mark main. Oh, is this how I do policy routing? Routing. Timetable? Main. Yeah, so they make a new table called, I can't call it mine because I already have some named mine. I don't want to get confused. New tab. It's fib. Let's ask help. Policy routing. Okay. Routing tables, routing rules, firewall, mangle marking. Okay. So this is a bit different from how we do things in BSD. I think it should be better, but it is not recommended to use both methods at the same time, or you should know exactly what you're doing. Great. Routing rules. Yeah, so API access. It seems like SSH access would work just as well. Home Assistant can do. I use Home Assistant for a lot of things in networking that probably shouldn't be done in Home Assistant, like scheduling events at certain times of day and things like that. They're just like basic. Home Assistant is like, I mean, I have a Stream Deck here, and I do a bunch of this stuff in Home Assistant too. Gosh, now I messed up my Stream Deck. It's not gonna sit again. Reading the help. So it seemed like I was on a good trajectory. So it seems like the way we do policy routing here is by creating a new routing table with a route to a gateway or more. And then setting one of these rules to Hmm. Rule add. Figure this out someday. Yes. Not sure what fib means. We're going to check the box. So now if we go to routing rules, okay, so I could use mangle to set a routing mark. And then in rules, I could set I do love Control F for finding answers quickly. It seems much easier. I mean, it's in a different place, but it doesn't seem like it's hard. So I don't have another, like WAN to try multi-WAN with. Routes. Glad to see everyone enjoying this so far. I'm enjoying RouterOS. It does not seem that hard to me. I know that when I looked at RouterOS 6, I was like terrified. The new help seems to be great. IP route. Okay, so here's where I could do policy routing instead of making a new routing table. I think. So I think what's happening is, so I create routes in the route list and add them to tables. And then I can assign tables in the Mangle rules. Not like that. Like mark routing, routing mark, new tab. Just happen in pre-routing. Then we take the new table. I don't know if I actually need to do that or not, but I like this. Anything else you guys think I should play with? So this hardware doesn't have Wi-Fi, so I'm not doing any Wi-Fi, obviously. I don't have hardware set up to do a bunch of bridging, and I mean, I could do testing with the VM, of course. But it seems like I at least understand this well enough to run my network on it, of the current complexity of my network. So that's a good sign. It's not horribly difficult. We have 9 people watching. Nice. Yeah. So, I had fun today with this. What else, guy? So I don't really have a good way to test VPN routing. Maybe I need to set up a bunch of virtual VM routers and test with a cluster of them. Ooh. .1x. Yeah, so that's another thing that would be nice to try. So switch, we have the switch. How do I set default Vlan tags? Switch. I think it's called PVID. Bridge Vlan table. Did not want PvP. Supported on this switch. It is very cool network hardware. So on my CRS-328, I can set the default switch chip. Set the switch chip to do Vlan tagging of untagged traffic. Switch chip. Okay. So what switch chip do I have? MediaTek. Be this guy. Offload VLAN filtering. Okay, so I should not be setting a switch rule. I should be doing it in the bridge VLAN table. No. So PVID, how do I change that field? So I would go edit 3, bit 2. Ports tab. Ports. Oh, yeah, there it is. How nice. So I've done this in SwitchOS. So like if I had another theoretical question of like if I have some devices that use multicast, but they just talk to all of each other, and I want to make them talk to some different ones at different times. My thought was I could have like a Mikrotik switch like this with a switch chip and change the PVID sometimes. So like if I have this thing has a 5-port switch, so I could connect 5 devices and say 2 are transmitters and 3 are receivers. I could have some automation log into the switch and change the PVID of the receiver's ports to choose which transmitter they're connected to. That was my thought. It is disabled. The port is disabled because there's nothing plugged into it. So that makes sense. Bridge ports, PVID. That's where I was headed in the terminal. Designate. What makes you designated? filters. I found it here in bridge ports. Designated just mean that you're operating or something? Okay, so we figured that out. So that's in bridge. Interface. Bridge. Port. Edit 2. pvid. Okay, I did that. So I want to edit the field pvid on you. You're currently 441, and we'll make you 55. So Control O. Okay, that's kind of cool. Everything plugged into you though. It'd be nice if I had stuff plugged into you. Time for another wire. Or Ethernet cables. Okay, so now port 3 should be up. So if we set port, we want to edit 1, which is Ether 3. Can I say edit Ether 3? Edit 1. We're going to make 369. And so did you magically get a new address? You kind of did. Oh, yes, on. I have a DHCP server on Vlan 69. Do I have to take the port up and down to... Did you get an IP address from the other server? You're supposed to be on Vlan 69. Vlan 69 is supposed to be different. Why do you use IPv6? Mostly so that clients can have access to IPv6 infrastructure in the internet. So I don't necessarily use IPv6 within my own network to a great extent, but I want to make sure that all of my devices can get to the IPv6 internet. Also, some cloud service providers, like if you rent virtual servers, they charge you less if you use IPv6 only, instead of getting an IPv4 address. So if you have cloud services, sometimes it's cheaper to do IPv6 to them. So port 3, Ether 3, you should be on Vlan 69, which should be giving me a different address, but you're not. If I unplug you and plug it back in. It is actually port 3, yeah, okay. Yeah, you still gave me an address on that subnet. Advertising. Bridge. Go back to the bridge and say Vlan filter on the bridge. Yes. Please. If I unplug you and plug you back in, are you going to get a address from Vlan 69? Should have a 2 here. I need to make a DHCP pool first. I actually don't even have a address on. Network. So you're in that subnet. IP address expected. That is an IP address. Isn't it? Not that. You put up, down. Oh, okay. It doesn't want the, oh, I see. I put the subnet in this section, not under network. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Releases, networks. So we have a new network. You don't have an address pool. Shouldn't you be an address pool? I'm going to use the wizard. IP pool. Okay, so I used the wizard instead of listening to IP pool. Okay, so now you should work on VLAN 69. Bridge should be VLAN tagged, and Ether 3 should be on that VLAN, and my third network jack on my computer should be connected to this network. Maybe. IP pool. Oh, I see. Okay. So the DHCP pools go here instead of under IP DHCP. Okay. I guess that works. You are not working. If we change you to be on that connection, what do we get? Why do you have to be complicated, IP? IP 3. IP link. What? IP link set. There. You getting a address now? Yeah, kinda. Yeah, you got an address. This is fascinating. Got like a billion windows open here in Winbox. IP addresses. So you're on Vlan 69 interfaces. So you exist. Bridge knows you exist. Untagged. Okay, so networks. Is getting leases from Vlan 69. But the switch chip is supposed to be offloading Vlan 69 to port 3. This is fun. I like networking. Of course. Plug it back in. Maybe I got bridge must also accept. I think the bridge has that set to it. Let's go back to the bridge. Bridge host table. Frame type, admit all. No ingress filtering. Check VLANs under bridge. They are there. Ether 3 is on the VLAN, 69 on bridge. Turn off ingress filtering. See if that makes a difference. Ingress filtering. It's set up right? So you're there. You're there. Maybe it's getting blocked. Check address list under Firewall. Okay. There are no address lists under Firewall. Bridge is the hardest thing to get right. Yes, I am finding that out. Bridge window. Yes, I see a bridge. I see VLANs. So have you. Oh, okay. I think that was the problem. It was only letting it go on the switch chip, not on the... Fix you over here? Not yet. Be in under bridge window. Yeah, so I did that. I didn't have bridge tagged, which was a problem, I think. So get 2 clients on either 3. If we keep trying over and over, maybe we'll figure it out. I do like figuring this out, though. Just the kind of reason. This is the reason I use SwitchOS for most of my Mikrotik stuff, because I'm not doing Vlan, like strict Vlan filtering. Just forwards tag traffic as it needs to. So why are you not getting an IPv? I think it should work now too. I agree. VLAN. So the switch is set, the bridge is set, so the default VLAN is 1. We added another VLAN on top of it on the bridge. Then we went and we added an interface, not an interface, an IP address. It's still a bit weird to me that IP addresses aren't like tagged on the interface, but I guess I understand it. PHP server. Torch the bridge. I could just reboot the switch too. I don't know, that's usually what I do in OpenSense when it's not happy. I'm like, we're gonna reboot you. It's time you've had a another chance. No, yeah. Well, I rebooted it anyway, so it beeped. That was so much faster than with RouterOS 6. Another reason I don't want to just delete the bridge and recreate it is because I'm connected to the bridge. Oh, sorry, you have a password now. I'm waiting for another beep. It'll be up. That's the beep. It's connecting. It says. So you found, oh, there we go. 365 days. Oh man. Okay, that's not the one we're trying to connect to though. We want to connect to 88.1. Yeah, okay. I'd even open the windows I had open before. How nice of it. Okay. Okay, so my IPv6 land seems to have figured itself out. So my virtual machine, which is connected to switch port 3, did get an address on the ending in 1, which corresponds with pool mine interface Vlan 69. Which is nice. And it created its own temporary address. It's just not giving IPv4 correctly. I wonder if Windows is having the same problem. I think network 2. $68.20? No, not you. Network 7? Yeah, 6010. Okay, so that one found life. And that must mean you must be... Oh, there we go. We got an address. Okay, that's a start. Rebooting it did it, kind of. For some reason, though, the VM still isn't getting an IPv6 address, or IPv4 address. There could be a problem with the VM, though. So you're bridged to that interface. Bridge you over, what do we just say, cable disconnected? And then say cable connected. So you got an IPv6, you're just not doing the whole IPv4 life. It's weird. I like that I can add comments to things. That's something I can't, well, I can do in OpenSense, kinda. It's a bit different, but the Winbox life is not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Honestly, I was like, how could they not have a web GUI in 2022? And this is not a bad time. Try WebFig again, just to see what WebFig looks like. So something seems to have worked because you got an address. Are you under leases? You are, and you show up as a lease too. I think that's you. Yeah, this is weird. So the virtual machine shows as having a lease in Winbox.3. It went from the bottom up. It doesn't usually go from the bottom. Yes, there is web GUI. Here's what the web GUI looks like. It looks just like Winbox, but instead of having these windows here, it only shows one thing at a time. So like here, that's IP addresses, and the equivalent in Winbox is this guy. So it works the same way. But I was coming into this thinking that Winbox would be a giant pain. And I have a Mac, so it's still going to be a giant pain when I use my Mac, but I actually do really quite like it. So it seems like, why is the VM not thinking it has wired settings? Oh, it's disabled. How do you get disabled? That was my problem the whole time. The VM was dumb. Are you undisabled now? Wired settings. Automatic DHCP, yes. But we unplug your cable and plug back in. It's like the troubleshooting of everything. You just turn it off, turn it back on, plug it back in. Okay, now what do we find? Did you finally get a why do you disable yourself? You got IPv6 somehow. So I didn't mess that up. It's weird to me. IPv6 is just like working fine. You're not getting an IPv4 address, but the DHCP Lisa said you got one, and Windows got one. So I think it's not the router's fault. Maybe it's the router's fault. I don't know. Whatever. Oh, next pool. Ooh. So if I run out of addresses, I can allocate them in a different block. That seems useful. Seems very useful. Not that I need it, but usually I just make the block bigger. But, yeah, that seems kind of helpful. What if I want to make you static? Can I make you static? Oops. Make static. Suddenly you're static. And now what if I want to make you dot, we're using too many numbers. Wow, that was easy. What if we want to put you outside of the DHCP pool? Oop, cancel, cancel, cancel. Where is the pool? So you start at 10. So what if I want to put you at I don't know, like 3 or something. 6. Yes, non-contiguous blocks by piece of different pool. Normally in the past, I've just made the subnet bigger. So instead of using a 24, I'll use like a 22 or a 20 and give the DHCP server just like a ton of contiguous space. And I don't actually have thousands of devices on my subnet, but sometimes I have a bunch of virtual devices, or if I'm filming a video, I might have like 6 virtual machines running or something for software purposes. Okay, so this seems to be doing its thing. Now, did you get your new address yet? Okay, you didn't get your new address, but if I unplug you and plug you back in, I bet you will. Winbox will be like, oh, fuck. No internet. You got your old address. How did that happen? Did I break everything? Oh no, now I got your address, okay. Well, this has been fun. It's been like 2 hours I've been hanging out here with Winbox, and I broke it. Don't know what I did to break it, but oh, can we get Winbox from here? Can we get to Webpig from here? Wonder. Probably not. Oh, there we go. Okay. No need to freak out. Winbox was just being slow. Yeah, so you got your static address. That was super easy. Make static. You're already static. Can be made static too. I like this. So what have I done today? Let's see if we can do an export. Ooh, wow. Just gonna like see what this looks like. It'll be bigger? Okay, it'll be bigger. Clear. How do you, I'm just gonna get rid of you and reopen you. Maybe CLS is the command I was looking for, but whatever. Bridge, Vlan filtering. Yeah, so I could take this, like this export and like configuration manage it. I feel like it'd be a lot easier to configuration manage than my OpenSense config. And that's a plus for me, I guess. OpenSense has a nicer web GUI, I think. Seeing a lot of things left over from me playing with things. DEFCON documentation, DEFCON Orchid. Bad IPv6. So what happens to the disabled rules? So I think at least one of you is disabled. Export verbose. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot. What is the difference between export and export terse? We're gonna ask the stop it. Oh, yeah. Ask you. Export. Safe mode. You say I could export? Stop it. The file. Oh. You are in fact a file. Okay. So that was a thing. What is export terse? Doesn't say it here. Verbose, okay. Is it just not doing the color highlighting? Seems to be doing a whole lot more. Oh, I see. Gives the whole command instead of add. Try without verbose so I can get something just like what export used to be. Be export sensitive. I don't think I have anything sensitive in this config, but I can see how that would be useful. Yes, I'm reading, got the documentation up here. Okay, I like this. This is nice. Yeah, I agree. Probably better to have the whole command doing a diff. I have done diffs on my OpenSense config before, but that was when I was moving from one piece of hardware to another. I did a config export, and then it's an XML. So I diffed the XML against a config from the new hardware where I'd only set up the interfaces. And then I merged across the interface config because OpenSense doesn't like it if you have config entries for interfaces that no longer exist. Mikrotik seems to... Oh, I probably still have that problem. I was thinking they'd just be named Ether 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just have to deal with that. But they're not just Ether 1, 2, 3, 4, because there's also SFP and SFP Plus and all that other stuff. I could see myself moving from a router that had ethers to a router that had SFPs in the future. Someday when I have a big network with lots of high-speed networking, more than my CRS328. Okay, so this was fun. Anything else I should try, chat? So in theory, I should be able to download this file. Download. Dude, I like creating VLANs. Manually attaching interfaces. Yeah, so what I did in OpenSense was in OpenSense every interface has a name. So you use the interface's name, not like you name it like WAN, LAN, whatever. But those get assigned to hardware devices, which are like the kernel level devices. And yeah, trying to move from one piece of hardware to another, it comes up and says there are no interfaces, and then you can't connect to it because there are no interfaces because LAN is attached to an interface that doesn't exist, and then you can't connect to it. Great. So I guess if I was moving from one piece of hardware to another, I could do a big find and replace and do Ether 1 with SFP1 or something. Or I could just take certain categories of the export and move them over. This seems like the kind of thing that could be nicely configuration managed. You can rename interfaces. Can I rename interfaces? I can rename interfaces. I feel like that would get maddening. But okay. Okay, is this list? Yeah, so interface list member. How does one make a new list? Yeah, so like Add you to that. Add. No, 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 no. You're not part of WAN. Yeah, so like this is kind of how OpenSense does it. You always have to assign a name to the interface. Use this. Yes, interface list. That could definitely help me. I like this. Then I would just have to, oh, can I do a, if we kill you, we kill you. Could I make a, yeah. Add to you, add a new one on LAN. That's the VLAN. So you're both going to be LANs. Oh, this is very handy. So maybe I name you like Ether WAN or something. How do you like that? Being Ether WAN. Happens to Ether WAN if I export. I see. Interface Ethernet set find default name is Ether1, name is Ether WAN. Okay, so that's what it did in the config. Ether1 was not previously part of the bridge, Ether WAN. Yeah, so it seems like renaming it here in interface. Oh, torch. That's what you meant by torch. Is there like a like default? It does seem to cascade all the config if I edit it here, which is super handy. I wonder if it shows what the default name is. Or what happens if I delete it? What if I delete Ether5? Oh god, that's a lot of types. Yeah, wow. We can delete you. Oh, we can't delete you. It won't let me. We just backspace you. Nope. So I don't know how to get you back to your default, but yeah, that's what Torch does. Oh. Oh, that's not, huh. Yes, I see the can't be deleted. What I'm wondering is if I can get it back to its default, because I renamed it. And I'm like, how can I, like, learn what your default was? I know you're Ether1, but, I can imagine if I had, like, a bunch of interfaces and I named them all to what they're actually connected to. When I went to, like, set settings and stuff, I'd be like, oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, so if I go here and I say export, it doesn't have the rename. So I rename you to Ether WAN. Then I do export. Then under export, it shows me what you used to be, because you are default name Ether1. So then I could go back here and say you need to be Ether1. Export again. And you no longer have that extra command to rename Ether1. Yeah, that's a neat trick. I mean, I'm sure they intended it that way, but still. I see what you mean about the script, I think. Yeah, because then when I export again, I get nothing, because there's nothing that's not the default. That's cool. I like that. And I like the interface list because I can put more than one on an interface. That's handy. I think I'm understanding this more. Much more. It never crossed my mind that renaming ethers would be a thing. I thought they were more like the Linux interfaces, where like ETH0, ETH1, etc. Where that's just like hardware name. That was very handy, though. You could do with that using interface lists. This has been incredibly Yeah, you do VXLAN too? I did see RouterOS supports Docker containers. This might come to surprise a lot of people. I don't use Docker at all. I use LXC containers on Proxmox. I use virtual machines on Proxmox. I use Home Assistant, which itself uses Docker, but I don't use Docker. I don't run a ton of stuff, I guess, to need Docker. And I like my LXC containers because I've been using them for like a long time. I have some LXC containers that have been running with me for like 2 or 3 system migrations now that have everything running in them and all their data and stuff. Yeah, this is nice. I like this. I'm happy. So, yeah. So now the question is, how do I get data out of it? Useful for Pi-hole. I actually don't use Pi-hole either. I know it's a thing that a lot of people like. Yeah, I can see that it would be useful if you don't to running Pi-hole or something like that. Which again is something I actually don't even run. I don't actually have DNS level blocking at my home network at all. I just do it with browser plugins. Yeah, I can see how that makes sense for an edge deployment where you're trying to not add more hardware. But I think usually you're going to have other hardware that's better to run stuff on than RouterOS. System. Menu files. Yes, I found the files menu. I started to talk about something and I got on a tangent. My question that I was thinking about was how do I log things? And not like text log, but like in OpenSense, I have, what's it called? Telegraph that pushes data into InfluxDB. And that is useful. Okay, so I have logging. I'm assuming that's like text logging. System logging. Yes, I found system logging. Okay, so you go to memory and you get logged in memory. So that would be like firewall rules that got a log tag attached. I'm not talking about like text logs though. Like, let me pull up. See if I can pull this up in a different window. I don't remember your password, so I gotta go check it. this is what I have with internet. So like this gets generated in Grafana from a data log from InfluxDB. So it's like pushing traffic statistics to Influx. And it doesn't have to be done on RouterOS. So like this is pushing host traffic. And that's actually a really advanced plugin that I wouldn't expect RouterOS to have by default. But at least this graph up here, where I'm looking at how much traffic is going through the connection. Look, there's my live stream, 6 megabits all day. Did not succeed in getting out yet. System action maker mode. Yeah, so I think that the logging here is more about logging messages, firewall actions, that kind of thing, and not traffic. I wonder if SNMP would do it. Where is SNMP? I feel like it should be here somewhere. Yeah, so this data on these graphs up here is pushed by Telegraph, and it's just, if I look at the code for this, it's yeah, so here's another place where the interface is hard-coded, but it's saying non-negative derivative of the bytes received counter on interface IGB0. So basically, OpenSense has Telegraph pushing the interface counters to a database in Influx, and then Grafana is pulling the derivative of that to get the data rate. And IGB0 is the kernel interface, so if I were to change ports on my router, it would mess up all my data, which would be infuriating. IP SNMP, okay. I wouldn't have expected it to be there, but okay. I actually have never used SNMP before. I assume that'd be a way to get data out of it, though. Traffic flow. If traffic flow does net flow, that would actually be really nice. Cache entries. IP fix. Yeah, so what I do instead of net flow, if I go back here in Grafana, this is coming from ntop. So this is a list of all hosts in the system, and I think this again is taking the derivative, so it's, if I look at the graph for this, yeah, non-negative derivative. So this graph is generated from byte counters per MAC address from ntop, but I think the same data could come from NetFlow if it was parsed. So that sort of data would be useful. I just need a server somewhere else to take the NetFlow data and parse it, which I'm currently doing on OpenSense. And then this again is the integral of the non-negative derivative, so I can see that somebody is using a ton of bandwidth. Someone, E08975BDE, the 8 has used 23 gigabytes in the last 24 hours. That's the Apple TV, by the way. That's why it uses a ton of data. Nope, stop highlighting things. I use Microsoft Edge when I'm live streaming so that none of my like personal stuff shows up. But yeah, so that comes from Road to 10K. Yeah, I just passed 8K, and I'm really happy about that because I've been doing this for almost exactly a year now, even though I wasn't consistent that whole time, and that's pretty impressive to me. Yeah, so I got metrics like this, which honestly I never look at, but yeah, so uptime, 12.5 weeks on the OpenSense router, and that would compare that to, we say new Winbox. Winbox is going to find my CRS-328 has been up for 365 days. So that's only a switch, but it has had better uptime than the router. 12.5 weeks. This kind of data I honestly don't really care about unless it's going to... It's harder based on Dell. one of the big problems that OpenSense has, and one of the reasons I'm looking at Mikrotik and BIOS, is that Ethernet adapter compatibility on FreeBSD is like awful. Thankfully there's nothing down here, yeah, so don't have to hide that. But yeah, like on FreeBSD, which OpenSense is based on, the drivers for like non-Linux or non-Intel Ethernet adapters are not the best. The OpenSense devs have gotten a couple other better drivers merged. I know that they were pushing for a better Realtek driver and a better, I think the Aquantia driver got merged as well. And then the pfSense devs merged some more recent Intel NICs, the Intel 2.5 gig NICs. But if you're using weird NICs on OpenSense, you're probably going to have a bad time. And if you're using it on a Dellwise 5070, you're probably going to be using, well, you have some options. So you could either use the Realtek NIC with a smart switch, and then you get 1 gigabit symmetrical to and from the router, and you rely on the switch to do VLAN tagging for your WAN. So like, that's essentially what the Mikrotik is doing internally. So the Mikrotik has a 1 gig interface from the CPU to the switch chip, and then the switch chip is breaking out these 6 interfaces, Ether 1 through Ether 5 and SFP. And so internally to the box, it's tagging traffic as it goes to the switch chip, but it abstracts that all the way in RouterOS. But you could do that on your own with a smart switch that can do VLAN tagging plus OpenSense. So you would say like VLAN tag 1 means LAN, VLAN tag 2 means WAN, and then on your switch you would break out VLAN 2 on some port and plug it into your modem. And that would work. Your other option is to use a USB 3 Ethernet adapter, and then you're probably going to have driver problems. It's probably not going to work. Probably have much better luck with something Linux-based to get good drivers. That said, 1 gig symmetrical is a lot better than a lot of the pfSense appliances can do, because they're internally using switch chips as well, but they can't offload. So the Mikrotik, we're going to hold it up again, can do hardware offloading at L2. This one can. The nicer ones can do hardware offloading at L3, but that's like crazy expensive ones. Some of pfSense's cheaper boxes are doing the switch chip path, but they don't have any offloading to the switch chip at all. They're doing everything in software, and the performance is like terrible. I had one of the Netgate SG1100s. I still have it. Maybe I should sell it, but the SG1100, and they internally use a switch chip for 3 ports, and they just purely pass 3 switch chip ports over the 1 gig link to the CPU, and it's a rough time. If you have 2 NICs, it should be fine. I mean, the Realtek NICs had a really bad reputation in pfSense. I know the OpenSense devs have been trying to merge. One of the big things OpenSense tries to do in general is they try to merge a lot more recent FreeBSD patches, whereas pfSense was stuck on like FreeBSD 11 for like 4 years or something crazy. And from that, pushing more recent versions of FreeBSD means they're getting more recent versions of drivers. But yeah, another fun tip that I've learned is if you go to Mikrotik's product page, I have this is the one that I have on my desk today. They have a block diagram. I think we have enabled switching. So we have the 5-port switch chip, and that has 2 1 gig links to the CPU. It's RouterOS. Yeah, I think so. They're both pretty comparable. This thing is like really cheap though. I don't know how cheap RouterOS is. But one of the advantages the Mikrotik does is that RouterOS will push a lot of stuff onto the switch chip if it can. At least for L2. So bridging, VLAN tagging can get done on the integrated switch chip. Whereas OpenSense's boxes that have switch chips don't offload anything. And some of the nicer devices can offload L3 stuff as well. So yeah, I don't have a Wise 5070. I have a 5060, 3 of them. I have 3 3040s now too. Gosh, I've been going crazy on the 3040s. But yeah, the 5060 is certainly powerful enough. It's just a question of getting the Ethernet data in and out on whatever your ISP is. So in my case, my ISP is only 400 megs down and like 20 megs up or something crazy, because this is America and we charge a lot for internet. But yeah, so using a Vlan to bring in my WAN interface wouldn't really cause me any bandwidth problems, but I'd ideally like to not do that if I could. Okay, so anything else I should try with RouterOS? I seem to have understood some things, hopefully. Had a good time with it for sure. It's definitely something I would recommend now. First time I used anything from RouterOS, I was very scared. I booted up my CRS-328 once in RouterOS, and I was like, ooh, we're going to switch to SwitchOS. And I did. And SwitchOS has been working great for me. As like I said, it's had an uptime now of... oh, that's not the one I wanted. It's 365-day uptime on the Switch. Zero tier. I don't actually use zero tier. I use OpenVPN personally, which I think is a package on OpenSense. No WireGuard got added. Yeah, I use OpenVPN personally, and the reason I use OpenVPN is because it has much better user management than WireGuard. So if I was doing like point-to-point links or something, ARM-based. Oh, I see. So they don't have OpenVPN compiled for MIPS. Well, that's not terrible. That's probably a reasonable choice. And MIPS. Yes, the reason that I don't use zero tier personally is because OpenVPN has much better user management. And if you want to do like remote user access and give each user... So I do like a certificate plus username and password. And I can give all of my users the same certificate. And that'll authenticate them to the server and authenticate the server to the client. But then individual users can still log in with their username and password in addition to the certificate. And I can have that tied into back-end databases and stuff, off databases. And WireGuard just has absolutely nothing to deal with users. It's just like, you have your private key, your public key. How you deal with that is up to you. And so that approach makes the code way simpler, which is why they like to talk up how simple their code is, but it also means their code does a lot less. So if I was doing like a point-to-point bridge, like between two different locations or between like a cloud server and my local location, I would totally use WireGuard. But for remote access, it doesn't have the user management features of OpenVPN. But you could still, I mean, there's projects out there that are building remote access solutions on top of WireGuard. I think Tailscale is built on WireGuard, if I remember correctly. One of those, not zero tier, but one of the other overlay networks is built on WireGuard. Yes, WireGuard is very fast. Would you believe that pfSense developers managed to fuck that up too? Not how fast it was, but it had some kernel panic bugs in it the first time they released WireGuard. A big oof, as they say. So I was already on OpenSense at that point, and I was like, oh my god, like what are they doing? Because OpenSense merged the user space Go client instead of the kernel space client that eventually came out. So OpenSense had WireGuard way earlier. pfSense tried to develop their own kernel module, and it was a mess. So yeah, WireGuard. This looks like normal WireGuard stuff. I don't see anything special about it, but WireGuard is really quite simple to. Yeah, they did in fact unrelease the feature. They unreleased it, yes, they did, and they eventually released it again when they had a better kernel implementation. But the OpenSense guys sticked with their. I think they still stuck with the WireGuard Go implementation in user space, which is really not that bad of a decision, I don't think, because there was no FreeBSD kernel implementation, and so they used the Go one. So, yes, I've been thinking of projects to test out like routing and things. I want to learn OSPF routing. Not that I actually have a need for it, but my production network has like 2 VLANs or something. Like it's not much. I got nothing going on, but it'd be fun to learn. So, I was thinking about trying to do WireGuard tunnels to like a cloud service or something. So that might be a future video project. Maybe someday. Could try it between different operating systems too, with Mikrotik on this side. So yeah, anything based reading comments. Amazed at how many people came today, because I like didn't announce this at all ahead of time. Moved on from EdgeOS. So one of the things that I've never liked about Ubiquiti is they don't really have any like policy routing features in Unify, and I don't know how they could like not have that for so long, because it's so useful. Unify is one company I have never used their hardware from, though. I've used TP-Link's Omada stuff. I used have Mikrotik stuff, especially the switches. I've used OpenSense. I've used pfSense. I have on my plan to use to try Vios. It's the Linux community. Yeah, Linux has their drama. I don't know if I'd say BSD in general, but it's pfSense and OpenSense definitely have so much drama. Used to use their APs and using Capsman. So Capsman is something I have never tried. Maybe I'll make a video just trying to play with Capsman, or maybe a live stream or something. I use the Omada APs right now, and I've been using them since before they had a full like solution and they just had wireless. And so I'm actually stuck on the version 3 controller because I have some like 6 or 7-year-old access points that didn't get firmware updated for, because it wasn't called Omada back then. And so I have the TP-Link EAP access points. And some of them are old enough that they are not Omada, and they have just the TP-Link controller software, which predates the Omada controller software. And I can't update them to newer firmware. There is no newer firmware for some of the older ones to use with the new Omada control panel thing. But I use their hardware and I like it. It's real cheap too, which is a big selling point for me because I am doing this mostly for fun and your AP. Yes, it does look like a fork of the Unify controller. It's like 2/3 the price though for all the hardware. And I only use it for wireless. I don't use any other switches or routers. And so on the wireless side, they've been fantastic. I've heard a lot of complaints about the router specifically not having good feature support and not having good feature support with the controller because you get different feature sets depending on if you're using the controller or you're using it standalone. But they've been doing Wi-Fi for way longer than they've been doing the rest of the Unify clone stuff. And I've been using them since like 2013 or 2014 or something like that. I still have some old units that are 802.11n, 2.4 gigahertz only. And then I updated everything to AC. And I have some of those in there. Yeah, Capsman. So Capsman is an interesting concept. I don't know, honestly don't know if I would use it if I was using Mikrotik wireless hardware. So my preference would be to set up all of the Wi-Fi interfaces and then push that out to the clients. So like with the TP-Link setup, I have I guess I could just open it and show you what it looks like. I don't think there's anything sensitive in there. I forgot what the port number is because they use non-standard ports. 8043. Yeah, thanks, guys. 8043. Come on, come on. Are you HTTPS? Yeah, there we go. So like, this is what it looks like in the old Omada controller before they called it Omada. And because I'm using an old version because I have some access points that are like, but like I can go here to, I think it's you. Yeah, and I have like I just set up different SSIDs, and I can set like this one's set to be on a different VLAN ID, and this just gets pushed to the clients. But the clients are still all talking on their own. There's no like it's not tunneling anything back to the router. So the APs get adopted, and once they're adopted, they get controlled here. So this is what I have going on. But coming back here, Capsman, the ideal for me would be if I could just set all the wireless interfaces somewhere. It doesn't even need to be a server. If it's not a server, that'd be even better. I could just have a config file somewhere that I call some command to push everything out to the APs when I change it. If the router is down, the Wi-Fi is down. Is that true if you don't tunnel traffic as well? I don't usually have a problem of the router being down. I've had very good uptime with a lot of my equipment recently, but except my damn cable modem. It's not even the cable modem's fault. I think it's Comcast's fault, but I'm blaming them anyway. Okay. So what I'm reading your comments about Capsman. I'm wondering if what I would do instead of provisioning them through Capsman, if I could just like do a config export and just import that into all the APs. Because I know the config export has like a feature to tell it to like because what I would really like is for the APs to have like a VLAN aware bridge and all of the different SSIDs with their VLAN IDs. And so what I could just do is set one of them up and use the auto import feature maybe. So like system reset configuration. Yeah, so I wonder if I could do something like make like a shell script or something that resets the AP and then tells it to run a script after reset to reload its configuration. It'll kick off all the clients though, which is kind of unfortunate, but maybe one at a time they can deal with it. I don't usually care about kicking off clients. Usually it's just me and other people. Script in the master AP. Yeah, that seems like a good solution. So so then I would configure my master AP in Windocs and then export its config and tell the others do their thing. It will reboot. Yeah, so if I tell it to, if I load an RSC file with a config and then I tell it system reset config run after reset and then tell it to load the new configuration, then when it reboots, it would come up, load its new configuration, and have a new configuration. I guess I could just also SSH in and reconfigure it. Ooh, how nice. FTP server. I like that idea. So that could be a better way than... Because Capsman seems like it'd be more useful if you actually needed to tunnel the traffic, and if you're not tunneling it, it doesn't seem like it's the way to go. Oh, talk about. Oh, so you're the check for internet option. So the ISP is blocking whatever it's using to check for internet. It's probably just pinging the. It's probably pinging the gateway, and they disabled ping on the gateway. Yeah, it seems like that would be. I understand that you don't have to tunnel, but it seems like they should be pushing the configuration to the slave devices if you're not tunneling. So the Wi-Fi doesn't go down when the capsman goes down. Yeah, so that was my, I think I'm about done. I've been recording for almost 3 hours now. Crap. That was my time with the Hex S. Hold here. Apparently it's designed like that on purpose. I wonder if it's for like logging reasons or authentication reasons. I know that some services require like decentralized the TP-Link stuff. If the server goes down, it won't do like 802.11k VR. K and V and R, which is the network assisted roaming. And I wonder if they're requiring capsman for network assisted roaming. Something like that. Because like with the TP-Link stuff I have, if the server goes down, the network assisted roaming stops working, which for some clients is a big deal. A lot of clients don't actually care about network assisted roaming because they ignore it anyway. And unless you're doing enterprise access authentication with like WAP, EAP, not yet supported. It's like half supported in TP-Link. Some of their hardware supports and some of theirs doesn't. All of their Wi-Fi 6 hardware supports it, I think, and like half of their Wi-Fi 5 does. Like 2 of my access points support fast roaming, and honestly, it doesn't make a difference if you're not using. I mean, so many clients are just so poorly behaved that without like forcibly kicking them off the access point, they're not going to listen to any roaming suggestions. Now, again, if you're using like 802.11r with WPA EAP, that is a big deal, because it caches the results from the radio server. Oh, bye. Yeah, I mean, some of the problems I have are that, like, I have smart plugs in weird places in the basement, and they'll pick, like, the dumbest APs to connect to, but they're, like, 802.11n 2.4 gigahertz, and I just kind of let them do whatever they want. Because I don't really care a lot about 2.4 gigahertz clients having a good experience. I'm mostly just focused on getting the clients that people are actively using every day to have a good experience. Those clients are going to be on 5 gigahertz. Working on it apparently. Okay, so what Mikrotik is not, what I'm learning is Mikrotik is not the leader in Wi-Fi. They seem to be a pretty good routing and switching and things. I'm really good at routing. There's a lot of options here I have not even attempted yet. Switching to is a big deal. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna head out soon. I've been recording for almost. Wi-Fi is second priority. Yeah, they have point-to-point stuff, and they have LTE stuff, and I actually have one of their LTE things too. That is the one that keeps popping up in Winbox. This that I have another video on my channel about. But yeah, I was not planning on doing Mikrotik Wi-Fi. I've been using TP-Link and they work. So I am probably going to stop streaming soon. It has been almost 3 hours and I've been having a very good time here. So I'll probably do this sometime in the future with Vios too. I know. So I really want to compare all 3 of these in a video. And I know OpenSense, and now I feel like I understand at least relatively basics about Mikrotik RouterOS. And so the third one that seemed to check all the boxes was Vios. And some other people suggested other things to me, and it's just that nothing else really has like is really that good, I guess. So anyway, see you guys. Thanks everyone that came. Some Mikrotik experts that are far better at this than me. Convinced me to use Winbox, and I just had to figure out how to get Winbox to work on my Mac, and I'll have a good time. So yeah, probably some. I haven't decided what video I'm going to make for Thursday yet, but probably make something. Usually, probably about this hex. So yeah, I am gonna try Vios first before I make a video about it, because I don't want to just like spend an hour just messing around like I did here. Yeah, so bye everyone. Yep, thumbs up. I'll see you guys whenever I make my next video. Usually Thursdays, but not always. So yeah, let's go back to YouTube and end the stream. End stream.